Welcome back to the Budget Gamer channel, where you can find reviews on the latest or at least the cheapest indie games out there. Today's review is of a game called Valfaris, and while the actual release is scheduled for next year on nearly every single system, I was fortunate enough to get my hands on a demo copy to do this review. And while I obviously won't be able to cover every detail of the full game in its future release, we will be able to look at some of its gameplay mechanics and themes and get some general impressions. If you haven't heard of Valfaris, the game lets you know right away with its opening title screen that this is a gore-fast, metal-mash, fast-paced side-scrolling shoot-'em-up. And if you do a little digging to get into the backstory of this square-jawed, long-haired, gun-wielding protagonist, you're going to find just as strong of an awesome space metal theme for the overall game's story. More or less, Valfaris is the name of a giant floating space fortress that all of the gameplay takes place on. But Valfaris wasn't always a futuristic hell of bioroids. At some point it disappeared off the charts and re-emerged around a dying star. And like that dying star, Valfaris itself is now exuding some creep-tastic, malevolent darkness. So it's Therion's duty as the main character of the game to explore this darkness and figure out what exactly happened. But don't be confused, this is no puzzle platformer based on story, this is a brutal hack-and-slash shoot-'em-up side-scroller. If you've played Slain Back from Hell, which was actually released by the same company, you may have a general idea of the feel of the gameplay. But I'm really happy to say that the gameplay feels even more organic. And though the general tone of the gameplay feels like an all-out brawl at a full-tilt sprint, there are checkpoints that can be activated throughout the game. And though the checkpoints are actually fairly generously spread throughout the game, they can only be activated if you've managed to pick up a green gem to turn them on. So besides just making a mad dash to the end of the game, you'll really want to be looking around for these green gems to activate checkpoints. Boss and mini-boss fights as well, at least as far as the demo is concerned, are really copious. Even in the half-hour demo, there were about 3 mini-boss fights and 2 bosses to face that all required figuring out new ways to handle your character. Whether it was making use of a new weapon upgrade or really getting a handle on your shield mechanics, each encounter seemed to push you just a little bit further as a player. That being said, aside from the basics of shooting, slashing, and jumping, there is a shield and weapon upgrades. Occasionally, as you make your way further into Valfaris, you'll find tanks that hold new weapons. And from what I've seen, the new weapons you can pick up are just as metal as the main character himself. Speaking of the overall metal theme, and though it is definitely rife throughout all of the gameplay, it's really not overbearing at all. The overall soundtrack and sound effects of the game are much more engaging as far as action is concerned than aggression. And the imagery as well, though it is biometal and bioroids, is bright and enticing even if it is a little gory. And overall, at least from what I can say from the demo, this is definitely a game that I'll be wanting to pick up, and if you're a fan of side-scrolling platformers, action, or just metal-themed apocalyptic games, this is definitely one that you want to keep on your radar. It's fast-paced and really engrossing, and it took me about a half hour to finish the demo, but it felt like I'd been playing it for maybe 30 seconds. And before I knew it, the thank you screen came up right after finishing the last boss in the demo. And if you are a fan of the Switch, thankfully Valfaris has been scheduled to come out for all platforms. Well, that about wraps up the review of Valfaris, at least as far as the demo is concerned, so if you enjoyed the review or found it helpful, feel free to throw me a like or a comment to show your support. And don't forget to click that little bell icon when you subscribe to stay updated with the latest content. There are new and unique indies coming out almost every day, so there's always going to be something new to find right here. But anyway, this has been Budget Gamer, so as always, thanks for watching.